A recent report by Harvard's Joint Center for Housing Studies has uncovered an unsettling trend among older American homeowners. For many, just making routine repairs or even critical upgrades that are simply too expensive. What's interesting is the income disparity. She writes that homeowners in the bottom fifth of the incomes spend an average of just $3,100 a year on home improvements and repairs. And that's less than a third of the average spending by homeowners with incomes that are over the top fifth. Now, that was considerably less than the average spending by a homeowner with higher incomes, and that would be about $10,000 or $11,000 a year. And on average, homeowners in the lowest income or lowest income quintile spent 16% of their household income on improvements and maintenance. And those lower income homeowners having limited resources are spending about 75% of their remodeling budget on maintenance itself or replacing critical units in the home, such as a hot water tank, HVAC unit, or repairing or replacing the roof. And so those discretionary improvements, such as upgrading the kitchen or the bath, only accounted for 18% of those improvements made by a lower income homeowner. And that's contrasted against the 30% of homeowners that are wealthier who are spending that money for significant improvements. So here's the catch. Even as these lower income homeowners are spending money on essentials, and it does pose a financial hardship for them, there are many repairs that are simply beyond their financial means. In fact, in 2023, it says 2.9 million homeowners lived in units that were classified by HUD as moderately or severely inadequate, with multiple structural deficiencies like water leaks, which is bad because that can lead to mold, large open cracks and holes in the floor, or serious problems with basic features such as plumbing or electricity and heating. So what can be done? Of course, the most obvious answer amongst reverse mortgage professionals and myself is a reverse mortgage. It could allow them to tap into a portion of their home's equity and use that for the improvements that are needed on the home, and also to keep the home up to date, because if they don't, then you have the issue of deferred maintenance. And of course, deferred maintenance will bring down the value of the home, and it could pose a safety or health issue. The Joint Center for Housing also notes that these gaps in investment will require more resources, and there are a wide range of national and local home repair assistance programs to help them with those repairs. As a reverse mortgage professional, I would encourage you to network with someone who is familiar with those resources in your community, so you can direct maybe some of your lower income homeowners who have a reverse mortgage and still can't afford these repairs to do it. Or, of course, you can provide that information just as a value add to older homeowners who maybe will not get a reverse mortgage. The bottom line is that many lower income homeowners are spending too little on needed home repairs and maintenance, and they're dedicating a disproportionate percentage of their income, because they're making less, to make those essential but costly repairs or fixes. So for professionals in the reverse mortgage space, that's you, that opens an important avenue in supporting a client's housing stability and financial well-being. Again, be sure to network with professionals in your community who are familiar with repair assistance programs. I think you'll make a new friend, and you'll also be helping out many seniors in need in your particular community. For those of you that are regular readers of Housing Wire's Reverse Mortgage Daily, you may have noticed that there are no longer any columns with a byline by Chris Clow, who's been writing for RMD, or Reverse Mortgage Daily, for a number of years. And that reason is because he's moved on to a new venture. And I received an email from Housing Wire's editor notifying readers that Neil Pearson will be directing the reverse mortgage reporting for Housing Wire's Reverse Mortgage Daily. Chris served as one of the primary editors of RMD for a number of years, and he played a key role in shaping our industry's leading news outlet in the years that followed. He covered many things, as we know, such as regulatory changes, market trends, and also the evolving needs and trends when it comes to aging homeowners. Now, just for a little bit of perspective, Chris joined Reverse Mortgage Daily in late 2018, and was hired by the publication's original owner, Aging Media Network, which was headed and founded by John Yednak. Now, Clow's tenure at RMD continued throughout and even after the publication's acquisition by HousingWire in 2021. During that time, Chris provided a variety of content, including podcasts, news stories, and commentary and interviews. And his work helped both the reverse mortgage professional and the consumers who read better understand how reverse mortgages work and how they can serve as a financial tool. So being curious, I went to Chris's LinkedIn profile and I saw that he was recently hired by Costco. No, he's not checking your Costco card when you come in the door or restocking shelves. He is working for their magazine, which is both a print and online edition. That is Costco Connection. Now, if you aren't a Costco member, then you are very familiar with these because they come in the mail and they're probably sitting on your kitchen counter or on your coffee table right now. And they have online editions that you can access as well. So I reached out to Chris and I asked just for a comment from him on this new venture and also about his time in the reverse mortgage industry. And Chris said, over the years, I've done my best to provide neutral, factual reporting on the affairs of the reverse mortgage industry to help professionals do their job more effectively. Thank you to everyone who has trusted me to provide you with the reporting over the years. Please extend the same courtesy to HousingWire's newsroom and home to a great team. I wish you all the success in the years ahead. And myself and you, our listening and viewing audience, also send your best wishes to Chris in his new role at Costco's national publication. Our local government's targeting elderly homeowners with fines, and SavingAdvice.com seems to think that they are. For most retirees, home ownership represents a sense of financial security. However, in the middle of 2025, here we are, a disturbing trend began to develop, and it was spotlighted by the personal finance blog SavingAdvice.com. So let's dive into that a little bit today and see what they have to say. It's something that you'll want to be aware of for any of your older homeowners that are experiencing issues with an HOA or even with their city's code enforcement. So local governments, that would be usually small towns or cities, are increasingly issuing fines, citations, and code violations that seem to target elderly homeowners, many who, as we know, are on a fixed income and living in the same home that they've been in for many decades. And the nature of these violations is not something major like you have a part of the property falling apart. It's typically something small like chipping paint or an overgrown lawn or a walkway that is cracked, they say. And that minor infraction can lead to increasing fines, even legal pressure or threats of foreclosure if they were to put a lien on the property. Now, if any of you or your clients have dealt with code enforcement, we know that oftentimes the homeowner is unaware that there is an issue until they receive the fine. There's often not even a cure period, given where they can correct the issue to avoid the fine. So why are older homeowners increasingly becoming targets? So property compliance can be very tricky, especially when the older homeowner, especially an elderly homeowner, is unaware of the changes. And I tell you what, cities love it when people are unaware of new regulations or ordinances because, yes, it is a revenue stream. And so what are some of these things they can go after? Well, one is not having the property kept up enough, and that could be a challenge for someone who's older or maybe not in the best of health. They're unable to repair or trim paint or fix fence boards or even trim their hedges. And hiring someone to do so may be difficult on their fixed income and their budget. Now, I've experienced this myself when it comes to code enforcement. They rely on complaints from neighbors or other individuals who are looking at the property. In my case, it was a prohibition against watering on certain days, and I wasn't. But someone reported me because they didn't obviously know what day of the week it was. So code enforcement departments are relying on complaints that are submitted either by phone or online. And we're going to look at some of the people that are actually submitting these complaints. Across the nation, many cities are facing budget shortfalls, and code enforcement is one way to fill or backfill the income that the particular government needs. And while it may be intended to encourage compliance, they can also be a very useful cash flow tool. So just put one and one together and we can see why they would be going after homeowners, especially those maybe that cannot fix these minor issues. And if they own their home outright, they can become an easy target because an older homeowner is less likely to fight the citation in court, and that can give them leverage as far as property liens or even an eventual sale. I call that just outright theft, and I think it's just heinous that they would do that to an older homeowner. So the optics may not look good, but in practice, it is all behind administrative procedures, that heartless bureaucracy that some of us have encountered. Then we have the issue of gentrification. So if you have newer homes and this older property, while it may be maintained, used to be charming, now it's being seen as an eyesore. So that can also attract the attention of an enforcement officer. So that means cracking down on homes that don't match today's standards. And why would they? They're at least 40, 50 years, if not older. And those homes are compliant at the time when they were built, but they are no longer compliant under the new rules, so they're being penalized. One of the things I found shocking is it's not just neighbors that are phoning in complaints or reporting to the code enforcement departments of different cities. Sometimes it can actually be real estate speculators. They're looking for undervalued homes, and that is a very, very questionable motive, but hey, they're trying to do what they can. I think it's really unscrupulous to do so. And in some cases, seniors have said they've been cited many times for the same issue, even after they've been trying to cure the problem so they don't get fined anymore. And not surprisingly, many governments rarely offer any courtesy inspection before they issue the fine or have a repair assistance program. Instead, the communication is usually a notice taped to the door saying that you are not in compliance and you need to be, and by the way, you get to pay this nice fine. Of course, the worst case scenario is the loss of the home because unpaid fines can escalate into a lien on the property and ultimately foreclosure proceedings. And while rare, it's not unheard of to see these things happening. And predatory investors and developers sometimes will monitor those particular situations and then make a lowball offer on the property that's in distress. So what can be done? One is to have members of the community advocate with the municipality for senior safe code enforcement policies, where the model is to provide assistance first before issuing the citation and the fine. So in conclusion, you want to be mindful if any of your clients, when you check in with them, your previous borrowers are experiencing these citations and fines. And with a little research, then you can basically provide them with a list of resources or individuals who may be able to help them in that particular situation. Again, if cities are doing this purposefully, which it's hard to ascertain intention, but if they are, I think that is just an awful thing to be doing to older homeowners who have worked hard, paid off their mortgage in most cases, and lived in the community and contributed only to be fined.